Give us 1 minute, we are coming.
Our students. Sada.
We are on live.
Okay.
Show it on.
First they will introduce.
Veda, we can start.
Sada, please take the floor.
Am I audible? I hope I'm audible. So,
You are.
good afternoon, everyone, faculty and students. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Happy Earth Day. This panel discussion is only one of the many events that we have organized in this weekend that we have planned for Earth Day called Earthly. Today's panel discussion is about environmental sustainability as a career. For this panel discussion, we have some distinguished speakers. To start off this discussion, we have Dr. Armin Rosenkrantz, the Dean of Jindal School of Environment and Sustainability. Professor Dr. Armin Rosenkrantz is a lawyer and political scientist. He has taught at Berkeley and Stanford. He founded and led an environmental NGO, Pacific Environment. He is the co-author of Environmental Law and Policy in India and Climate Change, Science and Policy. Please take the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you. So sustainability is important for the world. We want to maintain our environment. We want to protect it. We want to provide for renewable energy, such as solar, wind, biothermal, geothermal. Anyway, those are the objectives. Sustainable development is trying to keep our planet secure, protecting our wildlife, our forests, our climate, and our renewable energy. Those are our main objectives. We also want to believe that mankind is interested in protecting its future and its people and maintaining a fruitful and productive planet. We want to protect people against bad leadership, bad policy. We want to maintain good leaders and good policy all around the world, but especially here in India. So, we have to look to past leaders such as Ambedkar and Nehru as inspirations for the future. People like Trump and Putin are examples of poor leadership, weak leadership, and we don't want to mirror those examples. In energy, we want to be sure to provide for solar and wind and geothermal as opposed to fossil fuel power and more use of coal. Coal today is responsible for 80% of India's energy. That is not a good example. We want to reduce it as quickly as possible so that it's no more than 50%, and even better than that, below 50%. we can do this with common effort, joint discussion, joint resolution. Humanity is progressed not by being sober, reliable, and cautious, but rather by being committed to human development, green paths for growth, taking risks, opening new paths, reaching for the stars. That's basically my message for today. And we can do this with better climate change policies, better energy policies, protecting wildlife and forests, and promoting a green climate. Let's see if there's anything else I need to add. I would say that we need to elect and choose enlightened leaders who are committed to sustainable development, which is development that protects the planet and protects its wildlife and forests and climate, as opposed to what we have today and elsewhere in the world, which is heavily relying on fossil fuels to produce energy with tremendous harm to the environment through greenhouse gas emissions. Good, that's about it.
Thank you so much for that perspective, Dr. Amin. Now we'll be moving on to our next panelist, Professor Virendra Chaudhury. He is a professor and assistant dean at the Dindal School of Environment and Sustainability. He has over 15 years of experience in working in the domains of biodiversity, conservation, and pollution assessment. He was involved in the eminent organizations like IISc Bangalore and IIT Dhanbad. He has authored 25 articles in journals of repute and teach wildlife pollution courses at JSCS. Professor Chaudhury would be taking over the question and answer round for the first question. It's a very basic question related to this panel. What career options do you think are there for sustainability?
So thank you, Veda and Sadat, for bringing this very interesting panel discussion up. And I thank Dean Armin Rosenkrantz for his very enlightened speech on sustainability. Sustainability is a domain that is now, we are seeing that lot of people are getting to understand this domain. If I look 10 years down the line, I'll see that many of the industrialists, world leaders, as Professor Armin already mentioned, are not that much interested in sustainability. But now looking into the current state of the world that we are at now, climate change is not a myth anymore. Everybody knows that climate change is happening. We are seeing devastation across the coastline around the globe. We see people getting displaced, environmental refugees coming up. So climate change is not a myth. To combat this, we have to somehow have an idea where the development should go hand in hand with the protection of the planet that we live in. That is where in this cross section, sustainable development models comes up. And now the question that you posed to me, that what are the career options for sustainability? The career option for sustainability is wide and varied. It starts from policy-making bench, where the sustainability professionals are needed in the policy-making bench in almost all the world forums to help the world leaders to draft policies that are sustainable and environment friendly. There will be need for sustainability graduates in industries, because now with the more and more harsher rules and regulations coming in terms of environmental compliances, we need someone one who has knowledge in sustainable development and SDG goals to to orient the industries in a direction of a sustainable path, not towards a direction of exploitation. For that, we need skilled professionals. And these professionals, once upon a time, was thought that anyone from any field, say somebody is having a graduate degree or postgraduate degree in physics, science, humanities, literature, can come up and take this job up. But we can understand that this process is not successful till date. That's why the world is still facing difficulties. There was no solution as of date on how to combat the conditions of climate change. We see industries were very polluting, but there is no clear guideline how to make them more sustainable in their output. How the product's life cycle should be more sustainable. We don't know that. Who is going to bridge this gap? It is the sustainability graduates who will have the knowledge of in multidisciplinary arenas of sustainability, environmental sciences, humanities, social scientists, and they are going to use this skill set to divide this policy. So the job prospect of a sustainability graduate is very varied. It starts from think tanks, in policy making benches, in industries, in consultancies, in non-governmental organization sectors, in different government. And in government, definitely. So these are the career prospects that I think the sustainability professionals should be having.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question is a little different, and it's not similar to what I just asked. I'm going to be asking your thoughts about the 2070 goal that India set in COP26. I'm so sorry.
So COP26 has come with lots of promises. So as we can already see by the number 26, it's the 26th summit that has taken place, right? So till a date, COP summits are not able to put that much influences in changing the paradigm of development and turning it towards a sustainable one. But COP26 is there's a difference between that. Many global players who are mostly known to be greatest emitters of greenhouse gases and different energy giants who contribute a lot to the GHG emissions, they all come together with a pledge. The pledge is to reduce the emissions. So COP26 may not be the only solution, but maybe the starting point of a very good and green future. But there's no stop at that. It starts there. My logic behind that is COP26, many nations, including India, has pledged that the emission reduction should be there. By 2070, the India should be closing up many of the thermal power plants, because many emissions will be coming up from that sector, and emission reduction should be there. In view of that, what is needed? Now the infrastructure of these nations, we are heavily dependent on thermal power plants, that you all are knowing of it. The thermal power plants in developing countries like India, is mostly reliant on coal-based fuel. And if you burn coal, what happens? You emit greenhouse gases. So definitely it is going to shift. It is going to shift towards the nuclear, which is far less polluting, and almost the footprint of GHG emissions are very less, and definitely towards the renewables. So with this in mind, we see that there is a vacuum that has been created. We need professionals who are not engineers, who are not maybe law experts, but they are sustainability experts who can guide the governmental to the policy making bench on how to progress towards a renewable transition. And it is not easy as it sounds. It is difficult for a country which almost 70 to 80% of the energy comes from thermal power plant. Phasing out all these thermal power plant by 2070. This is a very challenging task. We need people, we need young minds who have skills in the domains of sustainable development to come forward and help the policy making bench to help them go towards this green transition. That's the lesson that I think we learned from COP26.
My question is that, is there any sustainable role for graduates in industries?
Sadat, yes, there is, definitely. And with the coming future, this door is getting even more wider. So when I myself was like studying environment. I was an environment graduate just like yourself, and studying in my postgraduate or in my master or postdoc and PhD days in IT, we used to always think of a very interesting line that the career scope for environmentalists and sustainable development experts are going to rise in future, right? So it is actually rising. How? Let me explain it a little. So what is happening now with the COP26 and the commitments different nations has made, and we have to understand it is not only India. These commitments have been made by many great emitters who are dispersed across the globe. Many members of EU are the signatories of this party. The US is signatory of some of the conventions. So many of the world major industrial nations are now going towards a sustainable transition. Now, with sustainable transition, in looking towards the sustainable transition, we can understand very easily there need to be some skilled workforce that need to help this transition to happen. We don't need industrialists or engineers as of that. The doors are getting opened for the sustainability graduates. A sustainability graduate knows the SDG goals, how to implement these SDG goals. They know about the environmental compliances. They can help the industry achieve the compliances without facing them that many laws. Because if our industry is sustainable or going towards a sustainable direction, it don't necessarily mean that they are losing out on profit. Rather, they can improve upon their profits.
Good.
Now, being an engineer, say if I am an engineer, I'm looking at a direction of a sustainable development and I'm planning a sustainable development model in an industry, I would be always looking at it in a direction that, okay, it is not a productive area. We are going to lose a lot of revenues. But if I am a sustainability skilled professional, I know this sustainability concept can be brought into the product, and that product would be more acceptable to the communities, and it will sell well in market, and I can actually make it a profit statement for my industry. So for that, we need sustainability graduates. And over the period of time, over the period of coming 5 to 10 years, we'll be seeing a time when every industry will be requiring to hire sustainability officers, environmental compliance officers, who are going to look into these protocols and guidelines. Not only the engineers who are going to give them processes, how to transvent or wiggle their way away from these environmental compliances. So yes, the doors for sustainability graduates are widening up as we are going down to a green future.
So, sir, do you think jobs in non-profit organization are not sustainable?
Very interesting question, Sada. This is a question I always face since I was doing my graduation. Whenever I go somewhere and I say that what you have done, people will be saying, I'll be replying that I am an environmental graduate. I have a PhD from IIT in environmental sciences. They will say, okay, your job is only in environmental NGOs, and that is not well paid. I contradict that. That is not the case here. Non-profit organizations do not generally means that the people who are working in this organization are not getting paid. We know one of the greatest non-profit organizations are actually work a lot better in the fields of biodiversity conservation, for example, WWF. There are many other non-profit organizations who works really well in the field of environment. And there is a great deal of opportunities for the environmental and sustainability graduates to come down into this particular non-profit organization. And I will share a small story with you all, a story from my own life. I have worked in a non-profit organization in Sundarbans, a very remote location in nestled between India and Bangladesh border. And we are able to get a funding of around 5.8 crore. I am just an MSc graduate. I written the project proposal. I submitted it to BMZ, Ministry of Federal Economic Cooperation, Germany. They accredited it. It got funded. And for a period of 4 years, this particular project, that main focus is on livelihood, green livelihood generation and mangrove protection in a very remote corner of India, Sundarbans. It got funded, and I was really amazed that I'm only a MSc graduate. How can I able to bring this much funding? That's the uniqueness in the field of environmental sustainability. It do not binds you with the borders and the chains of experiences. If you have the skill, you can write the proposals, it will be accepted, you will get the funding. And yes, with this particular project I'm talking about, we helped 2,100 families who are mostly in the BPL level, below poverty line level in Sundarbans. And so you can do a lot of good to the society, to the environment, and you can get a good payout of it. So yes, there are options. Where is the problem here? When people try to think of that, okay, I'm not going to go into a non-profit organization because I think somebody told me in my family or maybe my friend that it is not a very profitable place to go to. Wrong conception. It is not there. I am the very great proof of that. I worked in non-profit organization for 1 or 2 years. After that, I landed up in IIT doing my PhD. And one of the greatest reason why I get selected in IIT after a career gap of about 5 years is because I worked in an NGO. I have the field knowledge that many of my engineer colleagues who are doing the PhD do not have. So this is a benefit that you get. And definitely it is a well-paying job. You have the liberty of bringing projects, because if government, any government in any country want to work in a society level, they have to take the help of the non-profit organizations, because governments or authorities may not have that much penetrance in the society like a non-governmental organizations. So definitely it is a very good prospect of job. And not only that, it gives you independence of working on making your own ideas into reality. That's something that really intrigued me when I was a postgraduate student.
Sir, so what motivated you to pursue your career in environment and sustainability sector?
What motivated me? I want to see Earth to be sustainable. I want to see Earth as green. I come from a city called Kolkata. It's erstwhile it was known as Calcutta. It is very polluted. When I was a very young child, I used to go and take buses to my schools and all. I used to see that everything is polluted. The smoke, there is smoke everywhere. There are industries everywhere. There are transportation everywhere. So I asked a question to myself: what role I play in the society to make a transition toward the green future? And that given me idea. I think the similar guidelines also may have motivated you, Sadat and Veda, to take this field of sustainability and environment. That I try to do, that why can't I do something different? Why can't I give some ideas to make world a better place for our future? And for that, definitely, environment is one of the greatest options. And I never regretted my decisions till now.
Sir, so how can the government of India play a role in expanding jobs in sustainability sector?
There are 2-3 options by which it can be done. One very interesting option is coming up, which is still in the pipeline, but maybe in 3 or 4 years or 3 or 5 years down the line, this can happen. It is a Indian environmental services. So because now with COP26 guideline, India has pledged a very, very powerful pledge. We have to make our emission net zero by 2070. Now you can argue to me 2070 is long way off. But a country which has the second largest population in the globe, which is one of the 3rd to 4th largest emitters of greenhouse gases, whose 80% of the energy resources are dependent on coal, 2070 is a very difficult target. So definitely government need environmental professionals, not only engineers, like who are going to give them ideas on how to establish maybe water treatment plants, but rather think tank thinkers in the field of environment who can give them idea on how to make this transition to sustainable energy without any problem, and easily can it need to be done. So yes, this is in one of the pipelines. It's there that the government of India is thinking of Indian environmental services, which may come up. And apart from that, there are many other sectors where government of India do take environmental graduates. It is they are taken in MOEFCC. The full form is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. They do take environmental graduates in pollution control board. Every state has a pollution control board, and also we have the central pollution control board, which is located in Delhi. So all this different state level and the central level pollution control board need environmental graduates to work on it. And there are many now schemes that has been launched. Many of you already know about this scheme. One of them is Namame Gange. If you search out, you will see how many people got employment through Namame Gange. Almost most of my friends whom I have worked in during my master's days, when I was doing I was a master's student in Kolkata, they all got their jobs in Namame Gange. Because Namame Gange has a very strict protocol that you have to monitor the water quality every day. So it needs environmental graduates. Not everybody can do that. Again, we have the smart city mission, which will require town planners and planners, sustainable development students or graduates who have idea on town planning and sustainable and waste management. We have Ujala Yojana, we have water schemes, all these schemes, all this environmental project that has been launched by government requires environmental graduates. So the job opportunity for environmental graduates are really vast, but there is a catch here. We have to see environment and sustainability from a multidisciplinary lens, which is rarely done in India. We see environment and sustainability courses either in the silos of science or humanities or law. This is not going to give students a holistic approach, because a sustainability officer, an environmental manager need to have knowledge on all the domains. They need to know about sociology, they need to know about the science, they need to know about the law and policies. Then only they will be able to do a difference.
Thank you so much, sir. These are some of the questions that are coming from the audience that's watching us right now. So this one question, looking at young environmentalists like Manisha Madkar, I'm sorry about the pronunciation, and since we're discussing careers in sustainability and environment, what according to you should be the role of youth in addressing climate change? Should be limited to advocating climate change and environmental rights?
Interesting question. With the global climate change debate going on, and we all know what the group of Greta Thunberg is doing across the globe. So yes, youth has a very potent role in putting forward the need for a sustainable future, because the future is for them. We are living in present, right? Even the industries who are polluting, they are making profit in the present, but they are going to give a very polluted earth to the future. And this future generation should advocate for a clean and greener planet. So definitely role of youth in climate change movement and green earth movement is very much necessary. And there is a role for the graduates like you, all of you, like what you are doing today, the Earth Day celebration, where you're trying to bring the problems of the unsustainable development that is happening across the globe to a wider audience. Students should play a role in making this transition happen, and the advocacy should be there. But the advocacy should be done in such a way that it results in changes or alterations in policies of the industries who are the greatest emitters, or may give the government or authorities better guidelines how to make their nation more greener.
And also, if you have young people advocating for sustainable development and environmental improvement, you're going to get the attention of the leaders, the policymakers, who will recognize that this is the future. We are today, but the youth are the future of the country, and paying attention to them and their demands and their requirements is going to be vital.
Thank you so much, Professor and Dean. Another question from the audience is, how do you teach sustainability? Are there any challenges that follow with it? And what made you decide that you wanted to teach this as a subject to students?
So challenges, I don't think there is any challenges except from one challenge that I face. that is a block that is in the mind of young students who want to take this course, and that is not their fault. It is a fault of other some education system that is going on, which is rapidly changing now with the new education policies that is coming in place. So erstwhile, when I am a student, the subjects are very much compartmentalized. A science graduate will not be talking to a social science graduate. They don't even know what the social science graduates are going to do. A law graduate definitely has nothing to do with science. But in case of sustainability and environment, we need to look into all these dimensions from a holistic, multidisciplinary perspective. So as a teacher, as a faculty myself, I always try to bring this concept of interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity in my courses. And I believe the sustainability graduates and environmental graduates must look into this problem from holistic light. Otherwise, there is no solution to it. Technology alone cannot give solution to the problem. If it can, today we would not be in this position at all. Climate change problem would be solved. The pollution problem would be solved. So it proves that engineering, science is not doing that good in here. If we have a good policy, definitely the industries cannot pollute. So definitely policies are also failing. So we need to work in hand. The students should have knowledge from all the disciplines. And being a teacher myself, I try to address this issue from an interdisciplinary light. Now, how well I do that Veda and Sadat, you people can tell because you people take my courses. But that is my main principle, what I follow.
Sir, so there's one more question. What are the laws made by Indian government to make India a sustainable country?
There are a lot of laws in Indian national benches which are very much environmental friendly. The umbrella law is always the Environmental Protection Act. But if you look into this act, we have several laws that do give guidelines for environmental protections. And also we have another very important umbrella act, the Wildlife Protection Act, which also give the conservation, how conservation need to be done, and what are the different penalties of if the conservation protocols have been hampered. Everything is there. The problem is, I feel, because I can tell that with my experience of 15 years working in different forest locations across India. I worked in Mudumalai, I worked in Kutch, Sundarban, Bhitarkanika, many places across India. The problem is not the law, but the implementation. And this is a problem that you people will be, as an environmental graduate, is going to see in the future also, that the law may be there, but how you implement it, and whether the social conditions are taken into account when the implementation need to be done. So these are some of the directions. So I will say India has pretty good environmental laws, but the implementation phase, it can be better. Definitely it need to be better. If it is better, definitely we would not have great tragedies like Bhopal gas cases that happened recently, styrene gas incident that happened in Vizag. This incident would not have happened. So implementation need to be more thorough. Laws, we are far better, but it need to be even strengthened towards a more sustainable future.
And we need political will on the part of state and local leaders and community leaders. They need to be committed to environmental protection and sustainable development, and they need to be ready to implement and exploit their ideas in the society.
Thank you, sir. Another question is, does pursuing environmental studies incorporate students from multiple fields apart from mainstream science backgrounds?
Yes, an environmental field needs students from all the background. First of all, I will cut a myth here. There is no background. Everything is a knowledge. I'll give you an example. The degree that I got in my last part of my academic career, it is called PhD. If you translate it, it is doctoral in philosophy. It is not doctoral in science. It is not doctoral in, say, humanities. It is philosophy. Everything is a knowledge. We humans have compartmentalized it. So we think that if somebody is working on mathematics, that person is a scientist. But I will break a bubble. Social scientists use most of the mathematical tools. The greatest software that we have is that comes from social sciences. So there is no compartmentalization. Not everyone who has a green heart, I'll call it a green heart, they can come and be an environmentalist.
Dean, do you have anything to add to this?
Armin, you want to add something on this?
Well, just that environmental management is one of the leading challenges of the 21st century. And we need the people, we need the political will, we need the support of communities and institutions. We need to possibly create new institutions because we have new problems. We have global issues that were never really understood as global. We have to do this globally. So we need global institutions that are strong, that have the support of the society and the local and community governments.
Thank you so much for this enlightening discussion, Dr. Armin, Professor Virendra. I would like to thank you for joining us, for giving your interesting view on sustainability. I would also like to thank everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for joining us. With this, I'll be concluding this panel discussion. And I would love to invite you guys to join us at 6 for the LSAF panel discussion.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Sadat and Veda.
Thank you. Thank you.